Alright, so now that the whole Gakigahara forest thing is kinda complete at this point in time, we know who the traitor or traitors were. There's still one huge question that needs to be answered, and it is the question of why. We know who did it, we know how they did it as well. We even know there were 7 victims of the Nico students, right? But the motivation is actually not clear in this chapter, and it's probably for a good reason. I think Sandrovich will probably come back to this and try to change the context of the situation, but for now let's talk about what that could possibly be, because there's actually a lot of information, but here's the most important that can lead us into a very good direction when it comes to speculating why Mukaku students, 2 of them, ended up betraying Mukaku. And that is the fact that Tiger Nico, or the last Nico when he was a child, as well as number 5, both of them confirm that they're recent deflects. So they weren't worm infiltrators, like they weren't worm clones or anything like that. I don't even think they were clones at that point in time. I don't think the worms had that technology yet. And so Tiger Nico and number 5 actually joined the worm recently. But the question here is, why would Mukaku students deflect like that? Especially when it comes to killing their own brothers. This is very important because I think it was the chapter before when the reveal of who the traitors were, where they were sitting in a campfire together here. And if you notice, Mukaku's the only one who is standing up in that situation, and the rest of the students, or the rest of the Nikos, are kind of sitting down. And here we have our actual hint on what the motivation could have actually been for Tiger Nico's betrayal and number 5's betrayal. And that is, the question is posed on what had happened to the other Nico students, because there were a lot of them initially. However, they dropped out because they couldn't eventually keep up with the other Nikos. And here we actually see number 5. Number 5 is the one. We know he's the traitor. He's the one who actually asked this question of where the other students actually are. And Mukaku kind of replies that, of course, they probably left, and since they haven't, contacted us back, because none of them, not a single one, has tried to contact them again. Even though, Tiger Nico, who's Nico number 6, says that they were practically brothers. And he's saying that looking at Mukaku, he's looking up. Mukaku's the only one really standing. And so this information has probably led a lot of people, including myself, right, to think that Mukaku has been killing off his students so that the Nico style wouldn't leak at all. And if the worm ended up catching on to that, they could have presented this information to probably number 6. Because number 6, he seems far more of a mastermind, and number 6 is probably who contacted Nico number 5, because he knew number 5 didn't like Mukaku the most and is probably the most likely to back him in that situation. So I think number 6 is the first one to know, at least in my opinion. Now, is Mukaku capable of doing this? I think there's a pretty good premise here, or at least it's not out of the question that Mukaku would do it, because we saw exactly how he feels about his students. He only cares about them as so far as they help him complete his goals. That's as far as he cares, right? We know the moment he knew that the Nico style had leaked, he abandoned everyone. He didn't care, and that was it for him. And we have had hints for a while now that Mukaku isn't a good person. The inside, think about this, right? The people in the inside, one of the worst places that we've seen in this series, full of scum and all this stuff, even they don't like Mukaku. So I think it's not far-fetched that Mukaku was the one who actually killed off his own students, and eventually the worm ended up getting evidence of this to display to one of the 6 Nikos. Now, there is the question of why would they kill the rest of the Nikos, right? That might be explained by the fact that it would probably be very conflicting and Mukaku would kill them anyway, right? If they all deflected at some point, or if the process ended up going slowly, or any other reason, to be completely honest. The point is I don't think all of the Nikos would have deflected or even believed said information upon seeing it, and would have caused way more of a hassle and probably lead to their own deaths. Like Mukaku, let's say Mukaku were to catch wind of this, he would probably kill the people who were bringing the information from the worms. It's just not safe to do that type of thing. But here we have our possible explanation, and that is it. It's a pretty short video talking about the possible reason why, Nico or Mukaku's students actually ended up betraying him, because that's still left up in the air. Tiger Nico might talk about it later on, but for now, this is gonna be all the speculation we have on it so far. But until next time, like, sub, all that fun stuff, and yeah, take it easy.